Hey there, entrepreneurs. My name is Sushant, and welcome to TrepTalks. This is the show where I interview successful e-commerce entrepreneurs, business executives, and thought leaders, and ask them questions about their business stories and also dive deep into some of the strategies and tactics that they have used to start and grow their businesses. And today I'm really excited to welcome John Roman to the show. John is the founder of BattlBox. BattlBox is a monthly subscription service of handpicked outdoor survival EDC and other cool gear from an expert team of outdoor professionals. And today I'm going to ask John a few questions about his entrepreneurial journey and some of the strategies and tech that he has used to start and grow his business. Now, before we dive into this interview, if you enjoy this kind of content, please make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. And for more interviews like this, please visit treptalks.com. And with that, John, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today at Trep Talks. Really appreciate your time.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited for today.
So we were just talking, and you were sharing a little bit about your business. So you started BattlBox, and then you acquired a different company, then you sold both of them, and then you acquired it back. So can you talk me through a little bit about when you started and what was kind of your original idea for BattlBox? What was the motivation? And yeah, how did the idea come about?
Yeah, so not my idea at all. So initially there were four partners, four founders, if you will. My involvement came a couple weeks after launch, actually, and was simply an investor.
Okay.
I made an investment in the company, and was not my idea at all. My ex business partner, his fiance at the time, was getting a Birchbox. So think
Hmm.
like monthly makeup, beauty products.
Hmm.
This is 2015, so super popular at the time.
Hmm.
And he saw that genuine excitement she had on her face when she would get it every month, and he wanted that for himself. Looked online, couldn't find it. Was like, hey, maybe I'll just create it. And I came on board a couple weeks after launch. Came on board, let me clarify, just purely from investment.
Hmm.
Uh, just because I came from B2B SaaS, and on that side of the world, you love reoccurring revenue.
Hmm.
It's super easy to forecast. It's a lot easier, and that was what attracted me to the business. And yeah, so I wrote a check. I had a limited capacity role, board seat, was supposed to just give a couple hours of advice every month, and it quickly blew up and became a major time suck where I was, spending 50, 60 hours on my normal career job, and then I was spending 50, 60 hours a week on BattlBox. And it got to the point where I had to make a decision. Was I going to jump into this full time? And in the start of 2015, we did about 4.5 million in revenue. In 2016, after the first quarter, we had a run rate of eight figures. So at that point, it kind of made sense for me to just jump into the mix with everybody, with the three other partners. So there were four of us originally. I jumped in. One of my first priorities tasks was buying out the fourth partner that didn't bring any value at the time. And so quickly after I came on board full time, we were down to three. And yeah, then we were just off to the races.
I mean, that is so interesting that the first year you're doing 4.5 million and now you're doing eight figures. It's like seems like there's a huge market for this. And plus, I mean, subscription model is definitely a great model. But that's what I wanted to ask you is like doing a subscription in SaaS where, you have huge profit margins probably
Yeah, you don't
versus
have them here.
yeah, exactly. So how does it, what is your kind of assessment of doing a subscription? I mean, it's still better than selling individual items, even in e-commerce.
Yeah, anytime you can get forecastable recurring revenue, it's a win. But I think you bring up some really good points. So subscription boxes in general, and when you enter a battle box, you hit a subscription box. Fun fact, we never refer to ourselves as a subscription box because we're
Okay.
not. We're so much more than that. And the reason we're more than that is because, in my opinion, subscription boxes are dead. It was really cool in 2015, 10 years ago. You look at, I mean, the Birch boxes of the world. just that, had $1 billion valuation, then was in bankruptcy. And there's a lot of those stories, right? And then you have thousands of small ones that just never made it. Um, I think the subscription box industry, you have to do more. It was a cool idea 10 years ago, curate some stuff, send it to people. But if you don't provide value outside of that, I think your days are numbered. Jumping onto the margin side of things, yeah, it doesn't, we don't have software margins.
Hmm.
But with scale comes some interesting concepts. So part of our, uh, you know, call it additional secret sauce, if you will, is our focus on content.
Hmm.
So you're not going to find a lot of brands with millions of followers like us with a Netflix TV show. We definitely lean into content a lot. And that's part of what we are for these brands that we feature in the box. We're ultimately a marketing engine, right? So we can't pay normal wholesale rates. You have to give us, sometimes the product at your actual cost because we're going to put it in the hands of tens of thousands of your ICP. You can't ask for better targeted marketing than that. And then we're gonna push your product and talk about your product on our YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram channels, which is gonna get you millions of views. So it's not a traditional, which I think you see a lot of the subscription boxes. Oh, I'm gonna buy this at wholesale and put it in and not have good margins. We don't have great margins. We have good margins, but it's because um, of how we're structuring the deal with the vendors we include.
I mean, that's very interesting. I mean, ultimately, the items that you're including in the box, like the person who's buying it has to think that, they're getting value out of it. So
And they do. And they
yeah,
do.
yeah. And so it's not a subscription, it's mostly like one-time purchase that you're seeing, or
Oh no. Oh, we did over 20 million last year in subscription. That is the core business. But
okay.
I think let me try to add some color and context to this. Um, a subscription box alone is not anything exciting. It's a broken model.
Hmm.
It's a model that worked 10 years ago. It doesn't work now. You can look at any subscription box only business that's been around for a few years, and they're either out of business, they're either 40% the size, they're either about to go out of business this year. They're struggling.
Hmm.
You look at us, we've had growth. And the reason is because we're bigger than that, right? So we're actual subject matter experts in the great outdoors, right?
Hmm.
We're providing educational content both in traditional copy and video. We're putting out millions of impressions just on our social channels, selling absolutely nothing at all.
Hmm.
Just just providing value to our audience.
Hmm.
And then probably the most important part is the community we've built. So we don't look at it as a subscription box. We look at it as a membership. And
Okay.
with that membership, yes, you get a physical box, but you also get access to the community, right? Tens of thousands of active members that might be in your area. You're forging more than just a transaction. It's relationship based. And then in addition to that, we have other features. Like we have something called the Battle Vault. So if you're an active member, one of the things you receive is access to the Battle Vault, where we have thousands of SKUs at prices that uh, no, you can't get anywhere else. So they're
Hmm.
going to be below anywhere else you can find online or in person. Um, so yes, you get the box. Yes, you pay 200 for the box. Yes, it's worth $350. That used to be enough,
Hmm.
right? But that's not enough these days. Customers expect more and they want more and they deserve more. And I think that's where the separation is. Truly becoming a brand, not just a subscription box.
For sure. And your target market, I'm assuming like there's different personas of your market. Like there's one persona that's, hardcore EDC. There's another persona that's more outdoor, survivalist kind of a person. Can you share a little bit about your audience? And is this considered like a discretionary? I'm assuming this is a discretionary item, right? Is there like an effect of what's going on in the market, and then, do you see sales growing or decreasing based on that?
Sure. So great questions. It's part of that question we get a lot. So yeah, so we have lots of personas in our demographic, but ultimately, if I'm going to oversimplify it, it's males 24 to 54.
Hmm.
So that 30-year span is our sweet spot. Um, and yeah, there's lots of different, whether it's, the traditional survivalist or someone just being prepared, to, ex-military to law enforcement officers. It's the full gamut, just to the weekend warrior that likes gear,
Hmm.
the camper, the hiker. Uh, we really are able to touch on a bunch of different niches in our niche. The interesting thing is, the political spectrum, the stuff going on makes zero difference. We have no seasonality. We have no spikes
Wow.
when someone wins an election, or we have no spikes when someone loses an election, or there's turmoil in our world. Zero.
Hmm. And what is the reason
It's,
for that?
we don't sell on fear.
Hmm. So I mean,
Uh,
it's basically just the enthusiast, then, whoever,
Correct.
yeah.
It, you know, we try to normalize preparedness, right? Like, you have insurance for your car. Um, you have insurance for your home or apartment, and you have all these things like insurance. Why would you not have a box of batteries and power banks and stuff in case the power goes out? It's the same concept, right? Why would you not have some sort of device just in your storage in case something happens to your water supply? Um, it's just general preparedness, and I think it's something that exists, um, globally, definitely in the United States, but it exists globally to a certain extent, where people just want to be prepared, just prepared for the worst. A lot of them hope they never even use this stuff, and then you have the polar opposite that just wants to go out camping and is going to take and test all the gear. Um, but yeah, no, we get no spikes when craziness happens in the world. I
I
wish
mean,
we did. There's been lots of craziness.
well, I mean, you want growth spikes, like you don't want the,
Right. So we just
yeah.
have consistent growth.
Oh, okay.
It's predictable, consistent growth.
So your products, I'm curious, when you're sending out the box, like, do you track, like, let's say for one person you sent out a box which has knife, that has, a bag, whatever. Do you track, like, what you send them out in the next box? Like, how does your product assortment work so that the customer who's receiving these boxes at a certain frequency, like, they think that they're getting the variety, they're getting the value. I mean, if they're getting the knife every single time, like, they would be like, why am I getting so many knives, right?
Unless they sign up for our most popular box, the Pro Plus, which includes a knife of the month that
Okay.
60% of our keys are in. So there's knife enthusiasts
What,
too.
what what are these
Uh,
people doing with all these knives?
so these are high-end premium knives too, right? So
Okay.
you have traditional collectibles as well. People also, you see people switch out cars that they drive every year, right? It's the same thing. If you have a knife you carry, you like switching it up. Jumping back to your question. So all of every month, we call our boxes missions. So five days ago, actually 8 days ago, we started shipping out the latest mission.
Okay.
Um, Everybody gets that mission. There's four different tiers based on your tier level, basic, advanced, pro, and pro plus. But that was mission 121.
Hmm.
And then in the beginning of April, we'll send mission 122.
Hmm.
Um, it's, you know, we started off with mission one, then mission two, mission three, we're up to 121 now.
Hmm.
So when you first sign up, you get to pick a previous mission
Hmm.
for your first box. Then after that, you fall into the cadence
Hmm.
where everybody gets the upcoming mission. And it's the
Hmm.
drop model where no one knows what's in it, and then everybody gets it around the same time. Um, Typically, we retire the box afterwards. We might
Okay.
occasionally keep some for a promotion or something down the line, but if you miss out, you miss out.
And the vendors that you work with, like, do you have set vendors that you work with? You're always adding new, retiring the old ones. How do you kind of work with
Oh
your
man,
vendors? Yeah.
it's a challenge. I don't know why anybody would want to do this as a profession. It's a lot. So part of our allure is that we feature new products and new vendors every month.
Hmm.
Um, every month we have, 6 to 8 different vendors. Oftentimes they're new. And then, furthermore, no one has the quantity we need sitting in a warehouse somewhere, right? So these all have to be manufactured runs, 98% of them. So, we're working out sometimes 6, 8 months ahead of time, just that's the lead time these vendors need to manufacture the product and get it into our facility. Um, yeah, it's a lot. It's different relationships. There's some we have some partners that we might feature once or twice every year. They're just great partners to work with. But the reality is, it's every month it's a reset, and it's six to eight new vendors, and yeah, it's a lot. We have a whole team that has to manage that.
And I believe previously you said, you had purchased another business. What was it like? I believe the name you said was Carnivore Box or something.
Yeah,
Um,
so through the years we've made I don't know, I think we bought maybe 5 businesses and maybe sold 7.
well,
Um, so we had shortly after BattlBox, we launched two boxes, one called Barbecue Box, one called Spartan Carton. One was barbecue fit focused, one was fitness focused. We sold both of those in 2017 or 2017.
hmm,
And then in 2018, we bought a business called Going Gear, which was flashlights and knives, and they had retail presence as well in addition to online.
hmm,
Uh, in 2019, we bought Carnivore Club,
hmm,
which was a monthly charcuterie artisanal meats out of Toronto. They had gone on Dragon's Den, gotten a deal. It was a pretty cool company. So we bought that in 2019. In 2020, we bought BattlBox's largest competitor, Crate Club. And then in 2021, we sold BattlBox and Carnivore Club to Emerge Commerce out of Toronto.
I'm assuming the strategy behind that is that you have, of course, you have a community of customers, right? And you're finding complementary products or subscription items so that you can basically cross-pollinate between the different communities. And I think that makes a lot of
Um,
sense, but does it actually like I'm assuming all subscription boxes are not made the same?
yeah, so cross-pollination works in theory. Um, it wasn't the secret sauce for any of this. The secret sauce was just us knowing our playbook of how to go to market with a D2C brand. That was the secret sauce, right? Us knowing that content matters, us knowing about influencer seeding and creator seeding before anybody else was really talking about it. Um, that's the secret sauce. There was some cross pollination, but it's very, very, very minimal.
Hmm.
Talking less than 10% um, across each brand. So it was more just we knew how to run direct to consumer ecom brands.
But do you find that some of these are easier to sell than the others? Like I'm thinking that, your battle box is very targeted towards, male audience, right? A certain kind of audience. Um, are there any market opportunities like that could be geared towards a female audience, like for example, makeup? I mean, you said that it's no longer working, but are there market opportunities out there that you can take your expertise in marketing and influencer seeding and everything and basically create a secondary subscription
Yeah,
business?
the model's the same. Just to clarify, of it not working, it lost its luster. It's lost
Oh,
its allure, right? Birchbox went from $1 billion valuation and opening up retail stores in Soho to chapter 13.
hmm,
Um, it just the economics changed. Yeah, the model is the same. If I'm being honest, it's probably a little bit easier with females.
hmm,
Um, just simply because uh, there's there's a there's a bigger network of influencer seeders of influence seeding, right? There's way more female influencers and creators out there.
hmm,
Most play in the beauty and health space.
Hmm.
It's not very niche. It's a large ocean. It would be easier. Now it's probably more competitive as well, but I
Hmm.
think overall it would be easier. The reality is, um, I want to enjoy what I like, and I don't like makeup. I don't care about makeup.
Yeah.
I'm not, sure you can say, people do stuff for money, and I do want to get paid.
Hmm.
But I want to do cool products that I care about, right? Um, I don't care about makeup.
So to me, it sounds like a key part of or a key ingredient of your go-to market is, as you said, content and then influencer strategy. Can you share a little some insights on, if you were launching a new product and, your like how would you go to market? Like what would your strategy be with influencers and content? Like where would you start and how would you grow a new business?
Um, yeah, so I mean, the go-to market strategy is absolutely influencer seeding.
Hmm.
Um, that's definitely part of the mix these days. If I'm being honest though, I would create audience and content before the product.
Hmm.
I would build audience and I would understand my audience, continue to procure content for them that they enjoy ingesting and engage with. And then once I understood my audience and it was grown to a certain size, I would then introduce the product. Um, I wouldn't do the product first
Got
because
it.
if you have an engaged audience and you're able to grow it and you're able to converse with them, they're going to tell you what the product needs to be. They're going to tell you what they want. Um, and I think that's a much easier path. Now, I mean, of course, you can launch a beauty product and just send out thousands of boxes to an influencer and probably have some success too. But if you're able to go to the content side first and really create that community and that audience organically, I think it's probably longer in the tooth and has more shelf life
Of
because
course,
these
yeah.
people are buying. It's more than just a product, right? Um, and the need want scale, which you spoke to earlier, it matters. But when there's a bond, when there's a connection between a consumer and a brand, or a consumer and a creator, the need want scale within reason goes out the window. People
Yeah.
want to form a connection.
No, I think that makes complete sense, and I think that also um, is not is the most, I guess, less risky way of launching a business. If you already have the audience,
Yeah,
then
yeah, but building the audience is arguably a lot more difficult.
more difficult. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Any lessons there in terms of building the audience, or you basically talking? Well, you're talking to a specific person, and I guess you're speaking that language, right?
Yeah, in theory. Yeah, in theory, your the topic of your content is something you're passionate about. That passion, obviously is able to go through screens and people can tell genuineness and passion. So then you're finding your like people that engage with that. So yeah, but I mean, talking about it and executing it are two different things, right? You see most content is such a long game, right? We used to talk about how what a long game SEO was, right? And how long proper SEO strategy, how long it takes. It takes a while. Um, Content's 2, 3, 4 times as long. It's insane. And most people don't stick with it. Most people don't see the results they want within 30, 60, 90, 120 days, and they just call it.
Yeah.
Our TikTok, which is our largest channel, I think we have 1.1 million followers on TikTok. We launched it in 2021, and the entire first year was just failure.
Hmm.
Like we would get momentum, but very, very far and few between. We maybe three wins for the entire year, but we knew what we were doing was correct,
Hmm.
and we just had to stay consistent and keep leaning in and taking learnings and applying them. And eventually, after a year, it popped, and it popped into our largest. Um, because most people don't have the patience.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's so interesting. Social is such an interesting thing. Like some people have the personality for it, some people just have the knack for it, and others
Right.
it's like
Yeah,
you're
some people
forcing
it
people.
comes way too easy too. I wish it
Yeah.
came easy to me, but it doesn't.
So you, I mean, you got involved with this business as an investor,
Mm.
and but were you an outdoor person to begin with, or have you kind of learned to become an outdoors person? Like, what's your
Um,
capacity in the business? Are you working as a marketer? Are you working as a like more of the subscription side of business?
no, so I would say I'm not an outdoorsman,
Hmm.
by any means. I'm a big believer in preparedness. Um, whether that's having, like I said before, insurance, and an umbrella policy, all the way to, if something happens, and my power and internet goes out, I have a labeled box with some stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I'm a big prepared guy, but that's not why I invested. It was pure me liking the subscription reoccurring revenue model. I was making investments at the time. I think in a 2 month span, I made seven similar investments, and this was the one that just panned out um, really well.
Wow, very interesting. Um, are you primarily selling in the US right now? I'm assuming it's primarily US.
So primarily in the US. We're in Canada. Technically we do offer one-time products, non-subscription in 140 countries.
Okay.
But the membership is only in the US and Canada. And I don't see it, going anywhere else in the short term. It's When you start getting in other countries, there's all kinds of laws on specific types of products, and we don't want to curate multiple boxes. We don't want to curate a specific box for Australia or France or the UK. Um, we'd rather just curate one amazing box, which is what we were able to do with the US and Canada.
Is uh, is preparedness more of a US concept? I mean, do you see people, or have you, in your research of audiences in other countries, do you see uh, a push around people getting prepared, like in Europe or Australia? I mean, I know maybe in Asia, I don't think this concept exists, being prepared and so forth.
Yeah, it probably doesn't exist. I mean, so I guess certain parts of Asia, sure, it does not exist. But you talk about Philippines, it's a thing in the Philippines.
Okay.
Being prepared. With certainty, America, the U.S. and Canada, I would argue, probably ratio proportionally. There's when you start getting into the west of Canada, away from the the big cities. There's a lot. There's a decent bit
Hmm.
of preparedness. I would say from a ratio percentage, there's probably more Canadians,
Hmm.
ratio to their population,
Hmm.
than Americans. But Australia, it's really big. Um, we get an insane amount of traffic from Australia, and then a decent amount from UK. But Europe, for the most part, the rest of Europe, they're just being Europeans.
Yeah, they're more
They,
laid back, I think.
they've got
Um,
other stuff about.
yeah, for sure. Um, I believe you mentioned a Netflix TV show. Are you on Netflix?
Yeah, so we did a Netflix original series in 2020. Um, it premiered July 4th weekend. So
Hmm.
it's called, you can just go to Netflix, it's global, search BattlBox that comes up. The show is called Southern Survival.
Hmm.
So it's every episode we're testing gear to determine if it's going to go in that month's BattlBox mission to our customers. But it's reality TV, so we're testing stuff that, isn't we're not really going to put a flamethrower in a box, but
Hmm.
Netflix wanted it to be reality and engaging. So instead of a knife, it's a flamethrower or something like that. But
But
it's a cool show.
Awesome. When you're working with influencers, like, what do you look for in an influencer? Because I've heard from other businesses that it's kind of a hit or miss, right? Um, do you have something that you're specific metrics that you're looking for? And how does it work? Like, do you give them a box to kind of review, sample, give their opinions, and then basically pitch it to their audience? How does that work?
Yeah, so yeah, influencer seeding is a numbers game for sure. You know, the reality is a big chunk of influencers are just garbage in general, right?
Hmm.
So how do you filter through the garbage? It's not easy, and it's with certainty a numbers game. The you know we see the most success with what we define as micro influencers.
Hmm.
That influencer that maybe has 50,000 followers or 150,000 followers, the guys that have a million or 2 million or 5 million, um, they don't have the influence ratio that would justify uh, typically what they want to be paid.
Hmm.
It's it's super interesting. So for the most part, when we're dealing with micro influencers, yeah, we're sending a box or we're sending a specific product that we've recently featured or haven't. We have while the membership, the subscription box is a big chunk of our revenue. We still have thousands of SKUs in our shop, and the influencer seeding. If we're talking about unbiased reviews on YouTube, we're sending the full Pro Plus 200 a month box. If we're talking about TikTok Shop, we're sending one specific item that we think could have momentum to get virality. So it really depends on the platform. Um, the reality is though, it with certainty is a numbers game.
Hmm.
You have to reach out to hundreds of influencers to get 20 good responses, to find 10 that you're going to send the box to find four of those that are actually going to do a good job. It's a grind with certainty.
Hmm. Um, your team. So you have, if I understand, you have three co-founders right now, and
No.
can you?
So we sold the business in 2021. When we bought it, when we sold it, one of my co-founders was gone.
Okay.
We hit an impasse. We weren't working well together. That was the reason. One of the reasons we sold the business was to get them out of there.
Okay.
Um, so yeah. So two of the co-founders are still around. We have three partners when we bought it back. Technically four. Uh, our CFO is came to the table and has an equal seat with us. And then we took an old mentor of mine that plays in the VC world, and he came as a minority partner.
And who else is in the team? What does your team look like?
Um, our team's big. Uh, I can pull up a. Let's see. We'll pull up the org chart.
Well,
That'll
I mean, do you have more than 50 people or?
right at
Okay.
uh yeah, right. I think like 46
Okay.
last time we counted. It's gonna be your traditional team. There's we own our warehouse and fulfillment
Hmm.
facility. Both we have the two different buildings in the same city though,
Hmm.
about a mile apart. So that's a chunk of our employees. That's probably half,
Hmm.
simply because there's a lot of fulfillment going on
Hmm.
and in warehouse management. The only other thing that would be a little bit non-standard is because we have such a focus on content. So we have a full-time in-house creator.
Hmm.
We have three full-time video editors to support him.
Wow.
So it's a little unusual for a business our size, with a little bit less than 50 people to have three full-time video editors. That's probably the only super unusual piece.
I
And
think,
then you have just traditional CS team, and I think we have 6 members in CS, and we have a phone sales guy. handful of people on the marketing team, handful of people on procurement, and people on finance. Just spread.
Do you do paid advertising at all?
Yeah, yeah. We spend an absolute fortune on paid
Okay.
advertising. Yeah, I got in trouble. It's 12% of our budget, paid digital, and last year I ran it close to 18% for a good part of the year. So CFO is not very happy right now, but
Is
we're
it,
sticking to 12%.
I mean, the reason I was asking it is like, I am assuming, like, in terms of return on ad spend, like, is it improving? Is it decreasing over time? Because what I'm thinking now, given that you mentioned you have three video editors, I'm assuming it's becoming more and more important to create good content that's going to carry your business now in the future rather than doing paid advertising, which is like a lot more competitive and maybe, people are more wary of paid advertising now. So it's like
Yeah,
now, I think the good content is probably now becoming more and more important versus like paid advertising. What are your thoughts on that?
yeah, I don't, yeah, I agree with you. It's becoming more and more important. I would not say it's even close to being more important than
Okay.
the advertising. I think both are necessary. So our organic content is our true top of funnel.
Hmm.
And then our paid advertising, which even if we're prospecting, we're not reprospecting, but I mean we are, but like even if the focus is prospecting new with digital paid, it really does serve as both prospecting new and middle funnel.
Okay.
Just because you ingest a bunch of our TikToks and you're following us on TikTok and loving the videos, we don't have a pixel on you, right? We haven't gotten to our website yet, so it's not like we
Hmm.
can move you through the funnel.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think both are important. This year we're doubling down on our content frequency. I think last year we averaged maybe 1.3 uh, videos per platform per day, and we're going to be north of 2.5 this year per day.
Wow.
And it's simply because we're trying to juice the organic top of funnel to keep our customer acquisition costs or return on ad spend at an
Hmm.
acceptable level because as you know, acquisition costs have just gone up higher and higher every year, regardless of industry. It's a very competitive game these days.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, e-commerce is difficult now.
Yeah, it's not
It's,
easy.
yeah,
Not suggest jumping in.
yeah, yeah. Um, your fulfillment and shipping, you said you have your own fulfillment centers. When you're launching new boxes, and I mean, it seems like new products are probably always coming in. But is there any risk where, you purchase, or do you like build arrangements with vendors where if you don't sell certain items, they will take it back?
No, so luckily we have the audience and the sales channels now to move product. So we're never sitting and we're never sitting on stale inventory. But to your point, it's really difficult because when we're talking about being featured in an upcoming BattlBox mission, we're having to put that purchase order in 6 months ahead of time,
Hmm.
and it's a manufactured run. So you can't go back afterwards and say, "Oh no, we don't need that many." Well, they made them for us. There's no
Hmm.
choice, right? Luckily, uh, our forecasting has not been perfect. We've made mistakes, lots of mistakes through the years. With ordering. You can never order not enough, right? That's
Hmm.
not possible. You always have to over order, just because if everyone's getting the same mission, you can't not send it to someone. So you always
Hmm.
have to go on the conservative side of over ordering. But we're lucky we have paths. Our Amazon business, which is 100% one time, um, is ramping up nicely. It's a decent seven-figure business unit on its own. TikTok Shop is looking like it's going to be a seven-figure channel for us as well this year. And
Wow.
then all the other, wholesale and fair and eBay. We have a lot of channels, right? So we're a little fortunate, but it's definitely always something we have to be cognizant of. I think like right now, for example, we probably have probably about 1 million more in inventory that we would like to have. There's a clear path towards moving it, but still we're running a little bit heavy. We typically I like to have about under maybe 3 million in inventory, and we probably have close to 4 right now.
Hmm.
Now we'll move through in the next couple months, so it's not an issue. But if we weren't paying attention to it, it could become an issue, right? Because then all of a sudden, if you have 2 million in excess inventory, that's causes some cash flow problems.
For sure. In terms of your future vision for your business, like, do you ever consider creating your own a brand of products? I mean, given that you've probably learned what your consumer like, um, is that more risky or less risky than the model that you currently have? Is that going?
So yeah, no, so it's a great question. So we do have house brands,
Okay.
manufactured by us. So Ruck and River, we put out probably about, I believe, 8 products in the last uh 18 months. They're manufactured by BattlBox. In addition to Ruck and River, sometimes we'll manufacture stuff and actually just uh put the name BattlBox on it.
Okay.
Um, Rocket River is a little bit more premium, high end, um, and a little bit more niche. While there might be a knife that just makes sense to be BattlBox branded. So we do it, but you know the, we do it for a couple of reasons. One, if we think we can build a better mousetrap, if we see an opportunity of, hey, this product's great, but we know how to make it greater.
Hmm.
Um, and then the flip side is, sometimes the a vendor won't want to work with us at the price point that we need. They might say, no, this is wholesale pricing, and we can't buy for wholesale. So sometimes we have to manufacture our own just simply to get the margins that are needed. But it's a balancing act, right? Because BattlBox members join because they want to be introduced to new and known brands. Um, so at no point would it be acceptable for us to manufacture all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like we can manufacture, if there's 7 items in the box, maybe one of them is Rock and River,
Hmm.
but we still have to introduce the brands they know already, the new brands that are up and coming. They don't want it to be the BattlBox box. They want the diversity of different brands, and they made it very very clear to us.
Okay. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's your value proposition, right? So that makes. I mean, in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah. So
your,
it's tough, right?
yeah. Um, do you exit strategy, like, do you consider that you'll continue to run this business over like the long run, or do you guys talk about like in some sort of an exit strategy and for this?
Yeah, I mean, so when we sold the business in 2021, we were done.
Hmm.
We had three-year agreements where we would stay on until October 2024, and that was going to be the end of the book, end of the chapter at least.
Hmm.
The reality is we saw an opportunity. Once we were acquired, uh, we were publicly traded then, so there's a lot of visibility um, into the finances, and we saw just an opportunity to buy the business back at pennies on the dollar of what we had paid.
Hmm.
So because of that, we bought it back. Yeah, the buyback is the entire buyback model is a 5-year re-exit plan from the jump. That's the strategy. Um, so we'll hit 2 years next month, which means we have about 3 more years after that. And then, I think BattlBox lives on, and we want it, if in order to leave, we want it to be in a place where it can run itself and there's good leadership in place. But yeah, the plan is for me at least to probably exit in about three and a half
Hmm.
years.
Okay. Interesting. Um, in every entrepreneur's journey, there's always mistakes made, lessons learned, failures. I know one issue in your journey has been, I guess you mentioned that there was wasn't working out with one of the co-founders. What has been like
Yeah,
one a
twice.
big I mean, was that the biggest mistake, or is there another big mistake that you think?
Um, you know, you can categorize both of those as mistakes. The the two partners that are no longer involved. But the reality is, I don't think either were mistakes, right? So there were times in the journey where it made sense to have them. And there were times obviously where it didn't, but I think there were a lot of learning lessons in there. So I don't view the whole thing as a mistake at all. There were great times with both of them.
Hmm,
It just got to a point where there was more bad times than great times,
hmm,
which means we had to change. If I look at mistakes um, we made the most. Luckily, we made the most mistakes in our first year. Uh, thank goodness, because
hmm,
it was easier to get past them. In 2015, going into Labor Day weekend, we're gonna have our biggest promotion advertising we had done. Um, and we were only advertising on Facebook, only,
hmm,
nothing else. We didn't know any better. So
hmm,
Facebook ads get sales. Seems pretty easy.
hmm,
Um, Friday going into what was going to be our biggest weekend sales wise ever with certainty, 100% confident. We Friday at 6 p.m. our Facebook ad account got canceled,
hmm.
banned,
Why?
shut down. So we went from, and so it's our only lead source,
Hmm.
and we had
Why,
zero
why,
to no.
why did you get banned though? Was it like some sort of a issue?
Yeah, knives.
Okay.
So there's knives that go in the box, and depending on the day of the week, that could be problematic for traditional advertising like Facebook and Google.
Okay.
Um, and even though we weren't selling the knives directly, you could still get to them on the site. And it's a bit of a double standard, right? Walmart used to sell guns, but they weren't advertising the guns, and that was okay.
Hmm.
Um, but Walmart will spend a million in a day, millions in a day, and we weren't spending that much. So yeah, our account got shut down, and we went from all the traffic in the world on our website converting greatly to zero traffic. Not zero, but very little.
Hmm.
And the business was just, we were just like, damn, this isn't good.
Yeah. Hmm.
Without Facebook, we're 100% dependent on Facebook. This is a problem.
Hmm.
So the lack of channel diversification in our early stages was probably the biggest mistake. Um, Along those same lines are another huge mistake we made in the beginning when it came to customer acquisition was not spending more.
Hmm.
We were very slow and steady wins the race.
Hmm.
And in hindsight, when we could have gotten customers for $5 a piece, we should have grabbed every single one of them we could have. Because now we get
Hmm.
customers for $100 a piece.
Yeah.
Um, and we were getting customers for $40 a piece for a long period of time. Should have gotten as many as we could have gotten then. And instead of, slow and steady wins the race, but things would have been a lot easier if we would have just gone full gas pedal and gotten as many as we could at the lesser cost of previous years.
Hmm. I mean, it seems like you were doing it now with the
But we're doing it now,
18%.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. We're not anymore in trouble. 12% now.
I'm going to move on to our rapid fire segment. In this segment, I'm going to ask you a few quick questions, and you have to answer maybe in a couple of words or a sentence or so. A book recommendation
Sure.
for entrepreneurs and why?
Oh. Um, I'll go non-traditional. It's called The Signal and the Noise.
Yeah, I've
It,
heard of it.
it's by, yeah, it's by Nate Silver. Um, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a business book, but I think it gives you what you're looking for, maybe in a business book. It's the summary is the groundbreaking exploration of probability and uncertainty that explains how to make better predictions in a world drowning in data. So, everything is noise, right? So how do you find the actual signal in there? Um, Super smart guy. That's the book.
Awesome. An innovative product or idea in the current e-commerce, retail, or tech landscape that you feel excited about?
Hmm.
Are you using
Let's see.
AI at all in your business?
We do. We use it to go faster, be smarter, be more efficient, produce more content. But we're not dependent on it. It allows us to do our job better. I'm trying to think if there's something specific. Um,
Anything
yeah,
that you're
I would say AI in general. I just don't think it. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, anything that you
Go.
use. Sorry, my background went away. I'm just trying to figure. I was saying maybe you use a software or something in your business or personally that you really like.
So we're testing some new software out there right now. Part of Battle Brands, which owns BattlBox, also owns Battle Ventures. Um, so there's some software out there that we're having fun with. One is just launched called Concio, and it allows a team member to make phone calls to customers. So we have a win back campaign that we've ran for several years. We have a full-time phone sales guy, and he's working out of a spreadsheet that
Hmm.
we export and that we import um, past customers to, and he picks up the phone, 150 calls a day. Super successful campaign. So this Concio product is going to be almost like a dashboard. So we have a soft phone now, but this is a soft phone that's going to integrate into Shopify and Recharge and Gorgeous and Klaviyo to give him the ability to see the full customer picture and understand who he's talking to better. So
Hmm.
that's exciting. I'm optimistic it'll work. If it works as planned, it'll probably allow him to crank out twice as many calls a day and more efficiently because he's not having to manage a 85 tab Google sheet
Hmm.
himself. It'll just be all automated. So excited about that.
Wow, very nice. A
Yeah, it's called
business or
Concio. CONSIO.
I will check it out. A business or productivity tool or software that you would recommend or a productivity tip.
Um, get rid of all your meetings. Don't have so many meetings. I feel like we have meetings for meetings sometimes. So probably once a month, maybe once every 2 months, I just take a hard look at meetings and hey, is this really necessary, right? I think, and maybe it's me coming from the corporate world, but like too many meetings is inefficient. And I think it's human nature to have a bunch of meetings, like when you're running a business, but like that's the hack. Take a hard look at your calendar. And is a meeting really necessary?
Yeah. No, that's a great advice, and I think, people who are in the corporate world also, they probably don't need
Yeah,
80% of
meetings
the
for
meeting.
me.
Um,
Correct.
Another startup or business that you think is currently doing great things.
A startup business that is currently doing great things. There's another a a JV gentleman named Jared. He runs a company called Shieldbox, which is it's a traditional subscription box for law enforcement officers. He was NYPD. Uh, we launched with him Medic Box, and it's a monthly medical supplies, medical stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and after each 3 months, every quarter, you can build a kit. And maybe you put this kit in your wife's car in case she breaks down.
Hmm.
Maybe you just have it in your living room in case a kid hurts himself.
Hmm.
But it's cool because people hurt themselves. People need medical stuff. So I'm excited about that one. He just launched um, last year, and it's showing a lot of success. And he's a really good guy, and it's a really good product. So excited about that one.
Awesome. Um, a peer entrepreneur or business person whom you look up to, or someone who inspires you?
Um, so I'll take a unpopular opinion here. I pull inspiration at this point. So I used to, years ago, I used to look at other entrepreneurs, other people building stuff. Um, with the direction everything's going and the importance of content, now I look towards create actual just creators for ideas and inspiration. It's it's weird that I've taken this pivot, but now I focus on these creators and I see what they're doing, and that's where we get inspiration for the business. Um, for a long, long, long time, I don't want to say disliked, but I didn't care for Gary V
Hmm.
at all. And now as I guess maybe I've matured, I actually have appreciation for what he does. Um, and he's just putting himself out there, and it's a content play. And I think that yeah, the wiser and smarter I've become, the more appreciation I have him. I don't watch him to be motivated. He's not going to motivate me,
Hmm.
but man, do I respect what he does.
Hmm. Well, you know what? My thoughts on Gary Vee is that he has certain talent, right? And he's just naturally like that. Everybody
Yeah,
has a certain talent, and he like that's kind of his thing, right? Like I don't think
100%.
he can help himself like not go online and market it.
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just his thing,
yeah,
which I can
that's his thing.
appreciate.
Final question. Best business advice that you
Yeah.
have ever received or you would give to other entrepreneurs?
Um, Profitability. Be profitable.
Hmm.
Seems pretty simplistic and makes sense, but man, you gotta have positive EBITDA. Um, Running these businesses and being like, oh, I'm gonna figure out profit next year. Like, no, unless you're building some gigantic SaaS product that can get millions of users, like you got to worry about profitability right away.
Yeah,
The days of just burning money, yeah, just especially if you're coming up with a D2C product, you've got to be profitable.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
No,
profitability is simple, but people don't do it.
no, that's great advice, especially in e-commerce. If you're not profitable, like it's
What are you
very,
doing?
very,
Yeah,
very difficult. Yeah, for sure. Well, John, thank you so much for your time today, for sharing your story, for sharing details about your business and strategies and tactics. Really, really appreciate your time.
this was
Anybody who
great.
wants to purchase your item, products, or get in touch, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. So just battlebox.com, Google BattlBox, spell it however you want, it's gonna come up. But it is spelled BATTLBOX. Onlinequeso.com. It's my blog. Um, it's it's a little bit non-traditional in the sense that I don't want to just talk about the wins we get. I want to talk about the losses and what we learn from them and how we can apply them to later instances. I as TikTok is an example. I did like 5 or 6 posts that first year when we were getting our butt handed to us, just but taking learnings from it.
Hmm.
And then LinkedIn is probably where I'm the most active.
Awesome. Well, John, thank you so much again for your time today. Really, really appreciate it and wish you all the very best.
Great. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.